The sun stood high over the Pacific, burning white on the endless blue sheet of ocean below, as Lieutenant Owen Mercer guided his P-47 Thunderbolt toward the scattered remains of the morning's dogfight. His engine still rattled from a cannon, round that had grazed the manifold, and his canopy smelled of burned oil and cordite. The squadron had reformed and turned east for home, but Owen had stayed behind, circling at a distance, following a thin column of smoke rising from the waves. He shouldn't have lingered. He was alone, low on fuel, and still within range of Japanese patrols. But something in that smoke felt wrong. Not like wreckage settling, but like a signal, a flare, a plea. He throttled back and descended. The water below churned around a dark shape, an aircraft tail, half submerged, rocking with the swells. As he banked closer, he spotted the source of the smoke, a life raft, yellow and crumpled, its tiny flare sputtering out, and beside it, clinging to the fabric, lay a man, the pilot, a Japanese aviator. Owen felt his gut tighten. He had seen Japanese pilots crash before. Most never tried to escape the wreck. Many went down deliberately rather than surrender, and those who survived sometimes opened fire on rescuers. But this man didn't move aggressively. He didn't even raise his head. His hand merely rested weakly on the limp flare pistol, as if he hadn't quite found the strength to throw it away. "Jesus," Owen murmured. The pilot was alive. Barely. He circled lower until his Thunderbolt skimmed a mere 100 feet over the water. He could see now the Japanese airman's flight suit soaked through, his hair plastered to his forehead, his lifeline a few scraps of rubber and rope. His aircraft, what remained of it, was sinking fast. The pilot tried to lift his head when he heard the P-47 roar past. Instead, he collapsed, sliding halfway into the sea. Instinct made Owen throttle up and climb, heart pounding. He should leave. Training demanded it. Survival demanded it. You didn't land on the ocean in a Thunderbolt. Its weight alone would drag it under instantly. Rescue planes might come, but there were hours between patrol sweeps, and the Japanese pilot clearly didn't have hours. Even now, he was slipping under the waves. Owen glanced at his fuel gauge. Barely enough to get home, not enough to loiter. Yet he remained circling, each pass bringing him lower, closer. "Damn it," he whispered. "I can't leave him." Enemy airman or not, the man was drowning. He keyed his radio. "Base, this is Blue Leader. I've located a survivor, Japanese pilot, in the water at Grid." Static swallowed his words. He tried again. Nothing. The morning's fight must have damaged the antenna. He was alone in every possible way. Owen leveled out, staring down at the struggling figure. Another wave washed over the raft, lifting it, throwing the pilot sideways. The ocean was taking him piece by piece. "All right," Owen said aloud. "We'll do it my way." He dropped low, dangerously low, until the Thunderbolt's shadow glided inches over the raft. The Japanese pilot looked up, bleary eyes, numb expression. Owen pointed to the sky, made exaggerated sweeping gestures, then pointed toward the east. The man stared blankly. He was too weak to understand. Owen's mind raced. If the pilot slipped under again, he wouldn't come back up. There was no time for elaborate signals. Owen had to bring help and hope the man lasted until then. He climbed sharply, banking toward home. But before he had gone a mile, guilt clawed at him. What if the man slipped under while he was still in the air? What if he never made it back in time? He swung around and dove again. This time, he flew, so close that the ocean spray hit his canopy, and the raft spun in the Thunderbolt's wake. The Japanese pilot blinked up, fear flickering across his features. Owen pointed fiercely at the raft, then at the pilot's hand, pantomiming gripping, holding on. "Hold on," he was trying to say. "Don't give up. I'll return." Something shifted in the man's expression. Not trust, not hope exactly, but recognition. He nodded faintly. Owen pulled up, heart hammering, and made his final turn for base. He firewalled the throttle. Minutes passed like hours. His gauges dipped dangerously, fuel dropping lower than he'd ever allowed. His engine sputtered once, coughed, then steadied. Owen muttered encouragement to the machine like it was a wounded comrade. When his wheels touched down back at the island strip, he didn't even taxi. He popped the canopy while still rolling, leapt out before the plane stopped, and sprinted toward the tower. "Pilot in the water," he shouted. Japanese aviator, alive. We need a Catalina or a Dumbo flight, now. Officers stared at him as though he'd lost his mind. A hostile pilot? Worth risking a rescue aircraft? You sure he's alive? The operations officer asked. He's dying, Owen said, voice shaking, but he's alive. And that was enough. Within minutes, a PBY Catalina warmed up on the far end of the strip. Medics loaded aboard. Owen tried to climb in with them, but regulations stopped him. Combat pilots weren't permitted on rescue flights. He stood at the water's edge as the Catalina lumbered out, lifted, and headed into the glare. The entire time, Owen imagined the Japanese pilot slipping beneath the waves, alone with the knowledge that even his enemy was too late to save him. The weight nearly broke him. An hour later, a Catalina engine whine echoed back over the horizon. Owen ran to the beach. The aircraft splashed down in the lagoon and taxied to the ramp. Crewmen opened the hatch. A stretcher emerged. On it, thin, soaked, drifting in and out of consciousness, lay the Japanese pilot, alive. The medics hauled him toward the infirmary. Owen followed at a distance until a Navy doctor barred the door. He's in rough shape, the doctor said. Hypothermia, shock, ruptured lung from the crash, but he'll live. Owen inhaled sharply. Relief washed through him so quickly, he thought his knees might give. Days passed before he saw the pilot again. He visited the infirmary during off hours, as much out of curiosity as guilt. What must the man think of being saved by the enemy? What would he say? Could he even speak English? On the third day, the nurse nodded toward the last bed. "You're the one he keeps asking about," she whispered. Owen approached slowly. The Japanese aviator, barely 20, maybe younger, lay pale but conscious. When he saw Owen, he attempted to sit up. Owen raised a hand. "Easy. You've had one hell of a week." The pilot stared at him for a long moment, then said in halting English, "Why, you help enemy?" Owen exhaled. "Because you were drowning." The Japanese pilot frowned faintly, as though trying to weigh this against years of propaganda, training, orders. "I attack your friends," he said. "I kill Americans." "And Americans killed your friends," Owen replied softly. "If we keep score out here, the ocean will swallow all of us." The man seemed to consider this. He nodded, once, weakly. After a moment, he reached toward his bedside drawer with trembling fingers. Owen hesitated, unsure if he should intervene, but the pilot simply pulled out a small cloth pouch and opened it. Inside lay a photograph of a young woman standing in front of a seaside village, smiling shyly. "My sister," the pilot whispered. "I think's never see her again." Owen swallowed. "You might," he said, "when the war ends." The Japanese aviator gave a faint, tired smile. Owen returned it. When Owen left the infirmary, the nurse caught up with him. "He named you," she said quietly. "Named me. He calls you the Sky Brother." Owen blinked, the words rooted deep. The Japanese pilot was later transferred to a POW camp, where he spent the remainder of the war. The two never met again. But years later, when the world had healed and the airports were full of civilian travelers rather than warriors, Owen received a letter written in elegant Japanese script, but translated neatly on a second page. It read, "You saved an enemy, but I saw only a man. Because of you, I live to see peace, to see my sister, and to raise a family that does not know hatred. You were my enemy that day, but also my brother." Signed simply, Lieutenant Haruto Ishikawa, former Imperial Navy Air Service. Owen folded the side letter, held it a long time, and looked out across the quiet Pacific. There were victories in war that never made it into reports, but some, he thought, were worth more than any medal.